Mateo had always been the one who noticed things others missed. It was a curse, really, in a city like Seattle where everyone carried their secrets under umbrellas and hoodies, pretending the perpetual drizzle washed away the evidence. At 25, he was a barista by day at a hole-in-the-wall spot near Pike Place Market, slinging overpriced lattes to tech bros and tourists who never looked him in the eye. By night, he sketched in the margins of his notebooks, half-formed portraits of strangers, their eyes always too haunted, too alive. His own life felt like one of those sketches, incomplete, smudged at the edges. The apartment he shared with Elias Kane was a testament to that incompleteness. It was a third-floor walk-up in a brick building that creaked like an old man's bones, with peeling wallpaper in the hallway and a view of the alley where feral cats fought over scraps. Rent was split 50-50, but everything else felt uneven. Elias, at 27, was the enigma Mateo couldn't crack. Tall and broad-shouldered, with sandy blonde hair that fell in careless waves and blue eyes like chipped ice, Elias worked as a software engineer for some startup downtown, coding algorithms that Mateo pretended to understand. He moved through their space like a ghost, efficient, silent, leaving behind the faint scent of black coffee and aftershave. They had answered the same Craigslist ad 6 months ago, drawn by the low price and the promise of proximity to the light rail. The interview had been awkward. Mateo fumbling with small talk about the Mariners' losing streak, Elias nodding curtly while scrolling his phone. "I keep to myself," Elias had said, and that was that. No shared meals, no movie nights. Just the occasional nod in the hallway, the thud of boots on the fire escape as Elias slipped out for runs at dawn. Mateo told himself it was fine. He had his own rhythm. Late shifts, solo hikes up to Discovery Park, the quiet thrill of grinder hookups that never lingered past morning. But loneliness has a way of seeping in, like fog off Puget Sound. It started small, Mateo lingering too long in the shared bathroom, catching glimpses of Elias's razor on the sink, the faint scar on his knuckles from some untold fight. Then came the dreams, fragmented and feverish, where Elias's cold stare softened into something warmer, something that made Mateo wake up breathless and ashamed. He buried it deep, of course. Crushes on straight roommates were the stuff of bad rom-coms, not his life. The box changed everything. Mateo found it a week before Elias's birthday, tucked behind a stack of moving boxes in the storage unit downstairs. The building's super, Mrs. Hargrove, a wiry woman with a smoker's rasp and stories about the 70s punk scene, had handed him the keys with a wink. "Clear out the junk from 3B before the new year, kid. Tenants leave all sorts." Unit 3B had been empty for months, its last occupant a shadowy figure Mateo had never met. Amid the cobwebs and cracked lamps, the box stood out, small, latched with a brass hook, engraved with swirling initials, MK, that Mateo traced with his thumb, feeling a shiver unrelated to the chill. He almost left it there, but curiosity, that old betrayer, won out. Back in his room, under the glow of his desk lamp, he pried it open. Inside, a faded Polaroid of 2 boys on a beach, arms slung around each other, grins wide and unscarred by time. A stack of letters tied with twine, handwriting looping like waves. And at the bottom, a silver keychain shaped like a lighthouse, dangling from a worn leather cord. No note, no explanation, just echoes of someone else's heart. Mateo should have returned it. Instead, he wrapped it in brown paper, scrawled, "Happy Birthday, Roomie," from the junk drawer on a tag, and left it on the kitchen counter before his shift. Guilt gnawed at him all day, mixing with the steam from the espresso machine. What if it was junk? What if Elias tossed it without a second glance? By evening, as he trudged home through the downpour, his hoodie soaked to the skin, Mateo half hoped it had vanished. It hadn't. Elias was in the living room when Mateo pushed through the door, the box open on the coffee table amid takeout containers from the Thai place down the block. The air felt thicker, charged like the moments before thunder. Elias looked up, his face a mask cracked at the edges. Pale, eyes wide with something raw and unguarded. "You left this." Elias's voice was low, almost accusatory, but his fingers trembled as he held the Polaroid. Mateo nodded, dripping water onto the rug. Found it in storage. Thought, I don't know. It seemed personal. Birthday gift, right? October 28th. Elias's birthday had slipped Mateo's mind until Mrs. Hargrove mentioned it in passing. Now, it felt like a lie, this casual offering of stolen intimacy. Elias set the photo down carefully, as if it might shatter. This isn't junk. This is. He trailed off, rubbing his jaw, the scar on his knuckles catching the lamplight. For the first time, Mateo saw the boy from the picture in him, the sun-kissed eyes long buried under layers of frost. They sat in silence then, the rain a relentless percussion. Mateo wanted to ask 100 questions. Who was the other boy? Why the lighthouse? What ghosts did Elias carry that made him build walls so high? But he held back, offering only a tentative smile. If it's too much, I can take it back. Elias shook his head, closing the box with deliberate slowness. No. It's fine. Thanks, Mateo. The way he said the name, soft, like testing its weight, sent a jolt through Mateo's chest. That night, as Mateo lay in bed listening to the city hum, he replayed the moment. Elias's vulnerability flickering like a match in the wind. Sleep came fitful, dreams laced with beaches and lighthouses, Elias's hand brushing his own. When morning broke gray and sodden, Mateo rose to find a post-it on the fridge. Coffee's on. Black, like you take it. No signature, but the gesture felt like a crack in the ice. A door inching open. Over the next days, the shift was subtle, like the first hints of spring after a brutal winter. Elias lingered in the kitchen longer, asking about Mateo's sketches with a curiosity that bordered on genuine. You ever think about selling them? They're good. Real. Mateo flushed, and used to praise that didn't come wrapped in flirtation. In return, he shared bits of himself. The way his nana in Brooklyn had taught him to draw with charcoal stubs, the ache of moving west after her funeral 2 years back, chasing a fresh start that still felt elusive. Elias gave fragments too. He was from Astoria, Oregon, a coastal town where the waves crashed like accusations. His dad a fisherman lost to a storm when Elias was 12. Mom sold the house after. We bounced around. Portland, then here. No mention of the box, the photo. But Mateo caught him staring at it sometimes, late at night when he thought no one watched, his expression a storm cloud of regret. One evening, after a double shift that left Mateo bone-tired, he came home to find Elias on the fire escape, nursing a beer and watching the ferries slice through the sound. The air was crisp, laced with salt and pine from the Olympics in the distance. Join me? Elias asked, sliding over a spare. Mateo hesitated, then climbed out, their shoulders brushing in the tight space. The city sprawled below, lights winking like distant stars, the Space Needle a skeletal sentinel. They talked, really talked, for the first time, about the grind of Seattle, how the tech boom priced out artists like Mateo, how Elias's job felt like solving puzzles that meant nothing in the end. You're not like other guys I know, Elias said suddenly, his voice roughened by the chill. You see people, not just surfaces. Mateo's pulse quickened. In the half-light, Elias's profile was sharp, beautiful in its quiet intensity. And you? What's under the surface, Elias? A pause, heavy as the fog rolling in. Drowning, sometimes. Then softer. That box. It was my brother's. Micah. He left it when he went east. We were close. Too close, maybe. Elias's laugh was bitter, self-deprecating. Kid stuff. Beaches, secrets. Then he got sick. Cancer. Fast. I was 18. Haven't opened it since. The confession hung between them, raw and unfiltered. Mateo reached out, impulsive, his hand covering Elias's on the railing. Warm skin, calluses from keyboard keys and weights. Elias didn't pull away. For a heartbeat, the world narrowed to that touch. The rain-slick metal, the distant horn of a barge, the unspoken pull drawing them closer. I'm sorry, Mateo whispered, for prying into it. Elias turned, his eyes locking on Mateo's, blue depths swirling with grief and something fiercer, unnamed. Don't be. You gave it back to me. Him. His thumb brushed Mateo's knuckles, a ghost of a caress. Then, as if burned, he stood. Knight Matt. The nickname lingered like smoke as Elias retreated inside. Mateo stayed out there until his fingers numbed, heart a riot of hope and fear. That night, the dreams returned, but this time, Elias was there. Smiling on the beach, hand extended, the lighthouse beam cutting through the dark. The thaw accelerated. Shared playlists on Spotify, late-night runs along the waterfront where their breaths synced in the mist. Elias opened up more. The pressure of being the man of the house after his dad's death. The way coding was his escape. Logical lines where emotions couldn't intrude. Mateo shared his own scars. The coming out at 17 that fractured his family. The parade of anonymous nights that left him hollow. One rainy Tuesday, they cooked together. Pasta alla vodka from a recipe Mateo pulled from memory. Sauce simmering as thunder rattled the windows. Elias chopped garlic with surprising finesse. His laughter surprising when Mateo flicked flour at him. "You're a menace," Elias said, but his eyes danced. As they ate cross-legged on the floor, plates balanced on knees, the air hummed with possibility. Elias's knee pressed against Mateo's, a deliberate accident. "You know," Elias murmured, twirling noodles, "I always thought you were too soft for this city, but you're tougher than you look." Mateo met his gaze, pulse thundering. "And you're not as cold as you pretend." The moment stretched, electric. Elias leaned in, breath warm against Mateo's cheek, then froze, pulling back with a curse. "Shit, I can't." He stood abruptly, plate clattering to the table. "Forget it." The door to his room slammed, leaving Mateo adrift in the wreckage of almost. Heartache bloomed, sharp and familiar. He cleaned up alone, the sauce congealing like his resolve. What had he misread? The touches, the confessions. Mirages in the rain? Days blurred into avoidance. Elias buried himself in work, coming home late with excuses about deadlines. Mateo threw himself into shifts, sketching furiously in his breaks. Elias's face emerging from the page, eyes averted. The box sat on the shelf now, a silent sentinel. Then came the note, slipped under Mateo's door one dawn. "Meet me at the market, 7 a.m. Please. E." Mateo arrived early, hood up against the drizzle, weaving through vendors hawking tulips and sourdough. Elias was by the fish stalls, hands shoved in his pockets, looking wrecked, dark circles under his eyes, jaw unshaven. "I fucked up," Elias said without preamble, voice barely above the gull's cries. "That night. I wanted it. You. But I'm a mess, Matt. Micah, he wasn't just my brother. We experimented, kids being stupid. Felt wrong after. And Dad's voice in my head always. Men don't. I've been running from it since." The words landed like punches. Mateo's throat tightened. "Gay? Bi? Whatever it is, Elias. It's not a curse." Elias's laugh was hollow. "Took me burying my brother to admit it. Then you hand me that box like fate's joke. I feel alive around you. Scared shitless, but alive." Mateo stepped closer, the crowd fading. "Then stop running. With me." Elias's hand found his, fingers lacing tight. The kiss that followed was tentative, tasting of salt and rain. Elias's lips soft, hesitant, then hungry as dam broke. They broke apart gasping, foreheads pressed, the world tilting on its axis. From there, it unfurled like a secret bloom. Stolen kisses in the stairwell, bodies tangling in the dark of Mateo's room. Whispers mapping scars neither had named. Elias was a revelation. Gentle in ways his exterior belied, hands tracing Mateo's spine like braille, voice rough with awe as they moved together. "You're beautiful," he'd murmur, and Mateo believed him, for the first time. Seattle softened around them. Walks in Green Lake at dusk, hands brushing. Coffee dates where Elias's foot hooked Mateo's under the table. The apartment transformed. Elias's door ajar, playlists blending their tastes. Even the rain seemed kinder, pattering like applause. But shadows lingered. Elias tensed at mentions of family, dodged questions about old friends. Mateo chalked it up to time, savoring the now. The way Elias's laugh filled the silence. The lighthouse keychain now on his own keys, a talisman. 2 months in, bliss cracked. Mateo came home early from a cancelled shift to find Elias on the phone in the kitchen. Voice low and edged. I said no, Jordan. It's done. Move on. Jordan, the name from one of the letters in the box, the other boy on the beach. Mateo froze in the doorway, unseen. Elias hung up, raking hands through his hair. You heard that? Who's Jordan? Mateo's voice was steady, but his chest ached. Elias sighed, slumping against the counter. Ex, from back home. We were on and off after Micah. Toxic. He showed up last week, drunk, begging. I told him to fuck off. Relief warred with doubt. And nothing. I swear. Elias crossed the room, cupping Mateo's face. You're it for me. This us, it's real. They made love that night with a desperation born of fear, bodies fierce and forgiving. But the seed of unease took root. Winter deepened its grip on Seattle, turning the streets into mirrors of ice that reflected fractured lights and fleeting shadows. Mateo woke to Elias's arm heavy across his waist. The steady rise and fall of breath, a rhythm he could almost trust. But the echo of that phone call lingered like frost on the windowpane. He slipped out of bed quietly, padding to the kitchen where the box waited on the shelf, its latch mocking him with possibilities unspoken. Elias stirred an hour later, hair tousled, wearing nothing but Mateo's borrowed boxers that hung loose on his frame. Morning, he mumbled, pressing a kiss to Mateo's shoulder as he reached for the coffee pot. The domesticity of it, the grind of beans, the hiss of steam, felt like a fragile truce. One Mateo clung to even as questions bubbled beneath. They fell into a pattern. Mornings tangled in sheets, Elias's fingers tracing lazy patterns on Mateo's back, while they debated the merits of flannel shirts versus hoodies for the chill. Afternoons, Mateo at the cafe, stealing glances at his phone for Elias's texts. Silly memes about coding fails or photos of the sound from his office window. Evenings were theirs. Cooking disasters that ended in laughter, hikes up to Rattlesnake Ledge where the view stole breaths and hands sought warmth. Elias opened up in layers, peeling back the stoic facade. He confessed the weight of his mother's remarriage to a stern pastor in Portland, the sermons on sin that twisted his confusion into shame after Micah's death. I thought it was my fault, Elias admitted one night, voice muffled against Mateo's chest as they lay on the fire escape, bundled in a shared blanket. Like loving him that way called the cancer down. Mateo's heart clenched. He pulled Elias closer, lips brushing temple. Grief's a thief, not a judge. You loved him. That's holy. Elias's exhale was shuddering. Release. You make it sound simple. It's not. But you're not alone in it anymore. In return, Mateo shared his own fractures. The Italian Catholic guilt from his Brooklyn roots. The way his father's silence after the coming out had carved deeper than words. I moved here to forget, Mateo said during a walk along the Burke-Gilman Trail, leaves crunching underfoot like brittle memories. But you make me want to remember, to build. Elias stopped, turning Mateo to face him amid the bare oaks. His kiss was fierce, grounding, tongue and teeth a promise against the wind. Then let's build. The city conspired with them. Holiday lights strung across streets like veins of gold, markets brimming with spiced cider and evergreen boughs. They decorated the apartment on a whim. A scavenged tree from the curb, strung with dollar store ornaments and Elias's lighthouse keychain as the star. Mateo sketched them by the glow. Elias's profile softened in firelight, eyes reflecting wonder. Jordan's shadow faded, or so Mateo convinced himself. No more calls, no late-night knocks. When Elias's phone buzzed during a movie night, some indie flick about lost boys in the Midwest, he silenced it without a glance. Work, he said, but his jaw tightened. Mateo nodded, swallowing doubt. Trust was a muscle, he told himself, one they were flexing together. Christmas Eve brought a gift of its own. Elias blindfolded Matteo after dinner. Pasta puttanesca and red wine that loosened tongues, and led him down the stairs, out into the alley where snow dusted the bricks like powdered sugar. The blindfold came off to reveal a vintage Vespa, cherry red and gleaming under a tarp, keys dangling from the mirror. "Holy shit," Matteo breathed, tracing the curves. "Elias. Rode one with Micah once. Stole it for a day." Elias grinned, boyish and unburdened. "Thought we'd make better memories." They did. Bundled against the flurries, Matteo at the wheel, Elias's arms locked around his waist. They zipped through Queen and wind-whipping scarves, laughter echoing off brownstones. At Cary Park, they parked overlooking the skyline, the needle lit like a holiday beacon. Elias pulled Matteo back against his chest, chin on shoulder. "Best Christmas ever." Matteo's hand covered Elias's over his heart. To more. The new year dawned sticky sweet, resolutions whispered in the dark. More sketches for Matteo, therapy for Elias, online sessions with a counselor specializing in queer grief. Progress felt tangible like the first crocuses pushing through soil. But February brought the thaw's underbelly, mud and uncertainty. Matteo noticed Elias pulling back in subtle ways. Longer hours at work, showers taken with the door locked. "Deadline crunch," he'd say, but his eyes skated away. One night, Matteo waited up, novel forgotten on the couch. Elias stumbled in at midnight, coat rumpled, breath sharp with whiskey. Not his usual black coffee. "Out with the team," he explained, but guilt threaded his words. Matteo stood, arms crossed not in anger but ache. "Talk to me." Elias sank onto the armchair, head in hands. Jordan emailed. Showed up at the office today. Cleaned up, apologetic. Said he's sorry, wants to make amends. The room tilted. "Amends how?" "Not like that." Elias looked up, pleading. "I told him we're done." But seeing him, it stirs shit up. "The beach, Micah. Feels like losing them again." Matteo knelt, hands on knees. "Then let it stir. Feel it. With me." Elias pulled him up, kiss desperate and tasting of regret. They tumbled to the bedroom, clothes shed in a frenzy. Bodies a language of reassurance, gasps and grips erasing doubt. Afterward, slick and spent, Elias traced Matteo's collarbone. "I love you." The words hung, first time spoken. Matteo's throat burned. "Love you too." Spring crept in hesitant, cherry blossoms tentative against gray skies. Their rhythm steadied. Weekend getaways to the San Juans, ferries cutting waves as they necked like teenagers in the stern. Elias started leaving notes. "Thinking of your eyes on the fridge. Can't wait for tonight," in Matteo's sketchbook. Matteo sold his first piece, a portrait of Elias at the market, commissioned by a regular at the cafe. The check bought them a proper date. Dinner at Canlis, overlooking the lake, where Elias fidgeted with his napkin. "I want to tell my mom about us." Pride swelled in Matteo. "Whenever you're ready." The call came a week later, Elias on speaker in the kitchen, Matteo hovering like a shadow. His mother's voice was warm Oregon gravel. "Elias, honey, you sound good." "Happy?" "Yeah, Mom. I am. Because of someone." "Matteo." "My boyfriend." Silence stretched, then a soft intake. "Boyfriend?" "Oh, Elias." Not rejection, but surprise laced with something softer. Relief? "Tell me about him." They talked for an hour, Matteo chiming in when prompted, heart full. When Elias hung up, tears streaked his face. "She said she knew. About Micah. Always loved us anyway." Embrace followed, fierce and healing. Seattle bloomed around them. Farmers' markets bursting, runs turning to jogs hand in hand. But joy's peak often precedes the fall. Late May, Elias's birthday again. This time celebrated properly with a cake from Matteo's Nana's recipe. Candles flickering as they fed each other bites. Laughter filled the apartment, wine flowing loose. The knock came at 10, insistent. Elias paled at the peephole. "Jordan." Matteo froze, fork midway. "Don't answer." But Elias did, door cracking. Jordan stood there, tall, dark-haired, eyes red-rimmed. The boy from the photo, aged into sharp angles. 5 minutes, Eli. Please. Elias glanced back, apologetic. Just to end it clean. Mateo nodded, retreating to his room, door ajar. Voices murmured, Jordan's low pleas, Elias's firm refusals. Then raised tones. You think this Mateo guy's different? He'll leave when it gets hard, like I did. Fuck you, Elias snapped. He's real. A pause. Then Jordan's laugh bitter, broken. Remember the lighthouse? We promised forever. You owe me that. The door shut, but the damage lingered. Elias entered the bedroom, face stormy. He's gone. For good. Mateo pulled him down, kisses a bomb. But sleep evaded Jordan's words a thorn. Summer heatwave hit like a fever, turning the apartment into a sauna. Elias threw himself into a promotion at work, late nights debugging code that Mateo couldn't follow. Big project, he'd say, pecking Mateo's cheek before collapsing into bed. Doubt festered. Mateo scrolled old emails on Elias's laptop one afternoon, borrowed for a resume tweak. Innocent curiosity. The folder hit like ice. Jordan unsent. Drafts, raw and unfiltered. I miss the way you looked at me like I was salvation. Mateo's great, but you're in my bones. Sent a month ago. Coffee? For old times. Heart in throat. Mateo confronted him that night. Elias home early, takeout bags in hand. What's this? Elias's face crumpled. I didn't send most. The coffee. It was closure. Nothing happened. But you wanted it to. Mateo's voice cracked. Am I just rebound? Box therapy? No. Elias reached, desperate. You're everything. Jordan's the past clawing back. They argued, words like shrapnel. Trust shattered, fears unearthed. Elias stormed out, slamming the door. Mateo sank to the floor, sobs racking, the lighthouse keychain mocking from the table. Hours passed. Dawn crept in as Elias returned, soaked from a run, eyes haunted. I blocked him, deleted everything. If you want me gone, don't. Mateo stood, bridge of tears. But we need truth. All of it. They talked till noon, coffee cold. Elias confessed the pull. Nostalgia's gravity. Micah's ghost in Jordan's smile. I chose you. Every day. Forgiveness was tentative, a stitch over the wound. They rebuilt slowly. Couples counseling via Zoom, dates that reaffirmed. Picnics in Volunteer Park, where Mateo sketched Elias anew, lines steadier. By July 4th, fireworks burst over the sound as they watched from the roof, arms entwined. We're okay, Elias whispered, and Mateo believed it, the sky a canvas of promise. But betrayal brews in silences. August brought a work trip for Elias, San Francisco, 3 days. Client meetings, he said, packing with distracted kisses. Mateo waved him off, burying unease in shifts. The call came night 2. Elias, voice slurred. Jordan's here. Conference. Bumped into him. It's fine. Rage boiled. Come home. I will. Love you. The line died. Mateo paced, phone clutched, imagining hands, lips, ghosts made flesh. Elias returned changed, haggard, evasive. Drinks with the team. He was there but separate. Mateo searched his bag that night, impulsive. A receipt from a Castro bar, 2 whiskeys. No hotel charge, but the lie stung. Confrontation erupted. Tell me. Nothing. Elias yelled, then deflated. We talked. He kissed me, pushed him away, came back to the room alone. The room spun. You let him. Instinct. Old habits. Tears tracked Elias's face. I hate myself. Mateo packed a bag, heart pulverized. I need space. He crashed at a coworker's. Nights curled in a stranger's bed, sobs muffled. Texts from Elias. Please, apologies. I choose us. A week later, Mateo returned. For the lease, he told himself. The apartment echoed empty. Elias's room stripped bare. Note on the counter. Gone to mom's. Fix myself. If you want, I'm here. Always. E. Grief crashed. Mateo wept over the box, Polaroids blurring. Micah's smile accused. Love's cost. Healing began fractured. Mateo sketched furiously. Canvases of loss, Elias's face fragmented. Therapy solo now, unpacking patterns. Chasing ice to melt it. Fall leaves turned, mirroring Mateo's resolve. He texted Elias. Coffee? The cafe was neutral ground, rain lashing panes. Elias arrived tentative, thinner, eyes hopeful. Missed you. Me too. Mateo slid over a sketch, them on the Vespa, windswept and whole. No more ghosts. Elias traced the lines, tears falling. Therapy's hard, but I'm facing it. For me. For us, if there's an us. There is. Mateo's hand over his. Slow. Real. They rebuilt brick by brick. Walks without words. Shared silences pregnant with potential. Elias moved back in November, boxes unpacked together, his first, a photo of them at Cary Park, framed. Winter solstice brought quiet magic. A hike to Snoqualmie Falls. Mist rising like spirits released. At the base, water thundering, Elias knelt. Not proposal, but vow. I love you, Mateo Rossi. No reservations. Kiss sealed it, salt and spray. Seattle's lights welcomed them home. Door opening to something unexpected. Not perfection, but possibility. The rain returned with vengeance that December, turning Seattle's veins into swollen rivers that mirrored the turbulent flow of Mateo's thoughts. He and Elias navigated the early days of reconciliation like tightrope walkers over a chasm. Each step deliberate, hands clasped but eyes scanning for slips. The apartment, once a cocoon of intimacy, now hummed with cautious energy. Every creak of the floorboards a reminder of fractures mended with hope's fragile glue. Elias threw himself into change with a fervor that bordered on penance. Mornings began with him at the kitchen table, laptop open to virtual sessions with his counselor. A soft-spoken woman named Dr. Hale whose voice Mateo overheard in snippets. Boundaries aren't walls, Elias. They're gardens. He journaled 2 pages filling with cramped script that he shared in fits and starts. Wrote about the lighthouse today, he'd say over breakfast, handing Mateo a page stained with coffee rings. How it guided Micah and me, but I used it to hide after. Mateo read, heart twisting at the vulnerability. The boy Elias had been, sun-browned and secret sharing, eclipsed by loss. You're brave, he'd reply, kissing knuckles. Coming into the light. Their intimacy rebuilt in layers too. No longer frantic erasures of doubt, but slow explorations. Candlelit baths where Elias washed Mateo's back with hands that trembled less each time, murmurs of mine against collarbones. Nights when words failed, bodies spoke. Gentle rhythms that charted trust, gasps blooming into laughter when elbows knocked lamps. Seattle's holiday bustle provided distraction. They volunteered at a queer youth center in Capitol Hill, decorating trees with ornaments crafted by teens navigating their own comings out. Watching Elias with the kids, kneeling to tie a shoelace, voice steady as he shared a sanitized tale of his first pride flag, filled Mateo with a quiet awe. You're good at this, he whispered later, over hot cocoa in a corner booth. Elias shrugged, but his smile was genuine. Feels right, like paying forward what I wish I'd had. New Year's Eve found them at a low-key party in a Fremont loft, fairy lights strung like constellations among exposed beams. They danced, Elias's hands on hips, Mateo's head on shoulder, to indie tracks that pulsed with bass and memory. As midnight struck, confetti raining, Elias pulled back just enough to meet eyes. To us, unbroken. The kiss tasted of champagne and promise, cheers fading to white noise. January brought the first test. Jordan's email arrived unbidden, forwarded by a mutual contact from Elias's old firm, innocuous on the surface. Heard about the promotion. Congrats. Drinks if you're in town. But the subtext slithered, a serpent in the inbox. Elias showed it to Mateo immediately, over takeout pho steaming on the coffee table. Delete. Together. Mateo hit the key, then blocked the sender. He's a echo. Fading. Elias's relief was palpable, shoulders dropping. That night, they burned sage. Elias's idea, pilfered from a crystal shop in Ballard, waving smoke through rooms like exorcism. Laughter followed, coughing fits turning to tickle fights on the rug. Spring teased early, daffodils nodding in planters along Broadway. Mateo's art gained traction. A gallery in Pioneer Square reached out after spotting his Instagram, offering a solo show in June. Queer Visions of the Pacific Northwest, the curator emailed, and Mateo's sketches of Elias, of rain-slicked profiles and lighthouse gazes, formed the core. Elias celebrated with a surprise. A weekend in the Olympics, cabin rented sight unseen. The drive wound through evergreens heavy with mist, radio humming folk tunes that spoke of wanderers finding home. The cabin perched on a bluff, windows framing the sound's endless churn. They arrived at dusk, unpacking groceries amid the scent of pine and salt. Dinner was simple, grilled salmon from a roadside stand, wine uncorked on the deck. As stars pricked the velvet sky, Elias pulled Mateo to the railing. "This is where I want to be. Always." Making love by the fire that night was revelation. Firelight gilding skin, bodies sinking like tides. Elias's whispers wove through. Names, endearments, vows etched in sweat. Morning brought clarity. Over coffee on the porch, Elias cleared his throat. "I want to meet your family. If you're ready." Mateo's cup paused midway. His parents, Brooklyn Stoics, mending slowly via letters and calls, had thawed post coming out, but distance lingered. They're visiting in summer. Yeah, let's. The return to the city felt charged, possibility electric. But undercurrents stirred. At work, Mateo's coworker Lena, a sharp-witted dyke with tattoos of Audre Lorde quotes, noticed his glow dimming. "Spill," she demanded during a slow afternoon, wiping counters side by side. "It's good," Mateo hedged. "Just echoes." She nodded, wise beyond her 23. "Ghosts don't vanish easy. But you two, you're building a haunt of your own. Own it." Her words lingered as Mateo biked home, weaving through traffic thick with cherry petals. Elias was in the kitchen, phone to ear, voice low. "Not now, Mom. We're fine." He hung up as Mateo entered, face neutral. "Pastor stepdad issues. Thinks therapy's ungodly." Mateo set down his bag, arms wrapping from behind. "You're enough godly for both of us." Laughter rumbled, tension easing. But later, alone, Mateo glimpsed the call log. Jordan blocked, starred, recent. Doubt nipped, but he shoved it down. Trust, he reminded himself, was choice. June's gallery opening was a triumph. The space buzzed. Patrons in linen suits sipping Pinot. Murmurs of evocative trailing Mateo like perfume. His pieces hung proud. Elias abstracted in blues and grays, eyes pulling viewers in. Elias arrived late, suit rumpled from a meeting, but his pride shone. "Stunning," he breathed, hand at Mateo's low back. They mingled, Elias charming curators with tech analogies for art. Code and canvas, both blueprints for chaos. After, champagne buzzed in veins as they stumbled home, cab ride a prelude of kisses. In the apartment against the door, Elias dropped to knees. "Proud of you," he murmured, mouth worshipful. Mateo's fingers tangled in hair, world narrowing to heat and heartbeat. Summer peaked in languid heat, ferries to Bainbridge for berry picking, skin sun-kissed and sticky. They hosted a barbecue on the roof, Lena and her girlfriend, a few center kids now friends, grill smoke curling, stories swapped under string lights. Elias's ease charmed, flipping burgers with flair, debating craft beers with animated gestures. Watching him, Mateo felt rooted, this man, this life, his. But August whispered warnings. Elias's promotion meant travel. Portland for a week, then LA. "Quick trips," he assured, packing with kisses. The Portland call was fine, daily check-ins, voice warm. LA's first night, team dinner, "Miss you." Second night, silence till midnight. When he answered, background noise thrummed, music, laughter. "Where are you?" "After party." Harmless. Slur edged his words. Mateo's gut twisted. Home safe. Always. Click. Third night. The text. Staying extra day. Client snag. No call. Mateo paced. Rain returned, lashing windows like accusations. Grinder pinged, old habit, masochistic urge, but he swiped away, loyalty a tether. Elias returned hollow-eyed, beard shadowed. Hug at the airport was tight, but his eyes skated. Rough meetings. Over dinner. Tie again, ironic. Details trickled. Late nights, drinks to seal deals. Jordan's firm was there. Networking event. Bumped into him. The name like ice. And avoided. Swear. Elias's fork scraped plate. Why's it always him? Because he represents what you're scared of losing. Control. Elias's jaw clenched. I'm not scared. Liar. Mateo's hand covered his. But I'm here. Face it. Therapy doubled post-trip. Dr. Hale's voice on speaker. Triggers aren't failures, Elias. They're maps. September brought harvest moons and harvest doubts. Mateo's show reviews glowed, local paper calling his work a queer odyssey of the soul. But success highlighted fissures. Elias withdrew into code, screens a barrier. One night, Mateo found him on the fire escape, staring at the sound, beer warm in hand. What's eating you? Elias's voice cracked. Mom called. Stepdad's sick. Cancer. Like Micah. Sympathy surged. Mateo sat beside, shoulder to shoulder. Go see her. Can't leave you. I'm not going anywhere. Kiss to temple. Family first. Elias flew to Portland 2 days later. Mateo driving him to Seattle-Tacoma. Kiss lingering in the drop-off lane. Texts came steady. Mom's holding up. Stepdad's tough. Then night 3. Jordan here. Visiting old spots. Awkward. Mateo's reply. Boundaries. Got it. But the call night 4 was fraught. He's pushing. Stayed for dinner with Mom. She likes him. Remembers the good times. Jealousy flared, hot and ugly. And you? Shut it down. But it's stirring shit. The lighthouse promises. Come home. Tomorrow. He arrived shattered, rain-soaked, suitcase thudding. Embrace in the hallway turned desperate. Clothes shed in hallway. Bodies colliding against walls. Yours, Elias gasped. Thrusts punctuation to possession. After tangled in sheets, truth spilled. He kissed me. In the kitchen. Mom walked in, laughed it off as boys. I froze. Rage and hurt warred. Mateo shoved up, dressing furious. You let him. Split second. Pushed away. But yeah. Weak. You're not weak. Tears hot. But this. It's poison. Elias sat up, pleading. I choose you. Every time. Not enough. Mateo grabbed keys. I need air. He drove aimlessly, waterfront, lights blurring. Ending at the youth center, empty but for the night guard who let him in. Curled on a couch, sobs came. For the boy he'd been, chasing love like a lighthouse beam. Dawn found him home. Elias waited, eyes bloodshot. Don't leave. Not leaving. Mateo sank beside. But we pause. Heel separate. Agreement was agony. Elias to a sublet downtown. Mateo reclaiming space. Sketches darker, lines jagged. October winds howled. Leaves a whirlwind. Solo therapy unearthed Mateo's patterns. Saving strays, melting ice at cost. You're worthy without fixing, his counselor said. Elias's emails arrived weekly. Progress reports. Miss your laugh. Mateo replied sparse. Boundaries his new skin. All Hallows Eve a knock. Elias in costume, lighthouse keeper. Beam fashioned from foil, holding a carved pumpkin. Trick or treat. Laughter bubbled. Unexpected. Inside, over cider, walls crumbled. I'm better, Elias said. Facing the fear. Jordan's blocked everywhere. Mom knows the truth about us, Micah. She's coming around. Mateo traced the scar on his knuckles. Me too. Learning to stand alone. Kiss ignited slow, rekindling embers. Second chance. Third. Fourth. As many as it takes. November rains softened to drizzle, mirroring mending. Elias moved back piecemeal. A drawer, a shelf. Dates redone. Firsts recreated, Vespa rides with wind in hair. Thanksgiving, they hosted. Nana's lasagna. Elias's mom's pecan pie shipped west. Family bridged. Parents on video, toasts to resilience. December solstice circled back. Fall's frozen. At the base, hands clasped, Elias whispered, "We're the light now." Mateo believed, door to unexpected ajar once more. The holidays wrapped Seattle in a hush of frost-kissed quiet, where the city's pulse slowed to the rhythm of hearth fires and half-remembered carols drifting from corner bars. Mateo and Elias emerged from their tentative reunion like diverse surfacing for air, gasping, grateful, but wary of the depths below. The apartment, with its scuffed floors and rain-streaked windows, became a sanctuary rebuilt, each shared meal a brick, every unguarded laugh a mortar. Elias's commitment to growth was a quiet revolution. He traded late nights at the office for evening classes at a community center. Queer history seminars where voices like his echoed in stories of Stonewall and scattered families. Learned about Harvey Milk today, he'd say over stir-fry, eyes alight. Guy faced worse than my stepdad's sermons and kept going. Mateo watched the transformation with a mix of pride and pang. The man he'd fallen for evolving, leaving echoes of the guarded roommate behind. His own art flourished in the space. Commissions trickled in, portraits of couples entwined against urban backdrops, lines fluid with healed hurt. The gallery show had opened doors. Now, a local mag profiled him, Mateo Rossi, sketching Seattle's hidden hearts, and with it came offers for workshops. They wove their worlds closer. One crisp January afternoon, bundled in wool coats, they biked to the Fremont Troll sculpture under the bridge. A hulking concrete beast clutching a real Volkswagen. Elias posed dramatically, arm around the troll's leg, while Mateo snapped photos, laughter bubbling as tourists joined the farce. "My monster," Mateo teased, pocketing the camera. Elias pulled him close, breath fogging in the chill. "Your hero, more like." Picnics followed in spring's tentative grasp, Gasworks Park, relics of old gasification tanks overgrown with wildflowers. They sprawled on blankets, feeding each other strawberries from roadside stands, fingers sticky and sweet. Elias's head in Mateo's lap, he confessed fragments. Therapy's digging up Dad's accident. Storm like the one that took him. I code to control chaos, but love. That's the real storm. Mateo's fingers carded through hair. We weather it together. Intimacy deepened, no longer shadowed by suspicion. Mornings blurred into lazy explorations. Elias's mouth mapping Mateo's thighs, eyes locked in worship. Afternoons stolen in the shower, water cascading as hands gripped hips, moans echoing off tiles. Need you, Elias would growl, and Mateo yielded, bodies a dialogue of desire and devotion. But reconciliation's glow cast long shadows. February's full moon brought a call from Portland, Elias's mother, voice quavering. Your stepdad's chemo's rough. He asked about you, said to tell you he's proud. Elias hung up, face ashen. Proud. After the shit he spewed. Mateo rubbed circles on his back. People change. Or try. The visit was inevitable. They drove down I-5, Vespa traded for a rental sedan packed with care packages. Lasagna frozen in Tupperware. Mateo's sketches of coastal lighthouses as talismans. Oregon welcomed with coastal fog. Astoria's hills steep as regrets. Elias's childhood home was a clabbered Victorian. Paint peeling like old skin. The Pacific crashing nearby like an old grudge. His mother, Clara. Silver-streaked hair in a loose bun. Eyes sea blue. Hugged Elias fierce, then Mateo tentative. Heard so much. Welcome. The stepdad, Harlan, was gaunt in his recliner. Bible open but unread. His handshake was limp, gaze appraising. Heard you're an artist. Good. World needs beauty. Dinner was strained. Roast chicken and stories sidestepping thorns. Harlan cleared his throat post-grace. I was wrong, son. About things. After Micah, I leaned hard on the Lord. Forgot grace. Elias's fork stilled. Took years to unlearn that. Harlan nodded, eyes wet. Forgive an old fool? The room held breath. Elias's hand found Mateo's under the table. Working on it. Drive home was silent at first, then cathartic. Elias's tears hot on Mateo's neck as they pulled over at a viewpoint, waves below churning. Hate how it still hurts. Heal's not linear, Mateo murmured. But you're doing it. Spring bloomed defiant, azaleas rioting in planters. Mateo's workshop debuted at the center. Teens with pencils in hand, eyes wide as he demonstrated shading vulnerability into faces. Elias dropped in, sketching beside a shy kid named Theo, his patience a gift. Post-class, they walked home arm in brush, streetlights haloing. You're magic with them, Elias said. You're my muse. Kiss at the corner, unhurried. Summer hummed with heat and harmony. They escaped to the Cascades, hiking to Solduk Falls, where hot springs steamed like Earth's breath. Soaking side by side, skin pruned and pink, Elias traced Mateo's tattoos. A small anchor on his rib, inked post-move. What anchors you now? You! Splash fight ensued, ending in submerged kisses, bubbles rising like secrets released. Back in the city, challenges crept. Elias's firm expanded, new project, Tokyo trip looming. 2 weeks, he said, packing with reluctance. Video dates? Every night. Mateo's smile masked the twinge, distance's old specter. The send-off was tender. Airport kiss lingering, Elias's whisper, wait for me, against lips. First week, calls crisp, background sterile hotels. Miss your laugh, Elias said, pixelated but present. Second week, delays. Client dinner, late. Then silence, a day too. Texts, all good. Reply, swamped. Love you. Return flight landed late. Elias emerging weary but beaming. Hug at baggage claim crushed. Cab ride home, a frenzy of hands under coats. But unpacking revealed. A cologne bottle, not his, woody, unfamiliar, tucked in a side pocket. Mateo's stomach dropped. Whose? Elias blinked. Gift from a vendor. Schmoozing. Sniff test. Not Jordan's citrus, but doubt bloomed. Honest. Swear. Kiss to quell. Only you. Mateo nodded, but the seed took. August heat peaked, tempers fraying. A fight erupted over nothing. Dishes left soaking, Elias snapping after a code crunch. Can't I have space? Space or escape? Mateo shot back, old wounds raw. Elias stormed to the fire escape, door banging. Mateo followed, softer. Sorry. Tired. Reconciliation in the dark. Apologies murmured, bodies bridging gaps. But words lingered. We can't keep fracturing. Promise we'll talk first, Elias vowed. September's equinox brought balance or illusion. Mateo's profile led to a mural commission. Queer icons on a cafe wall in the U District. Elias helped paint, roller stroke steady, banter flowing. Completion night, opening party, crowds toasting. Jordan's name surfaced in a toast. A colleague mentioning Elias's old collaborator from Oregon. Elias paled, excusing to the alley. Mateo found him smoking, a rare vice, hands shaking. He reached out. LinkedIn. Congrats on the promo. And ignored, but eyes darted. Trust's thread thinned. That night, Mateo checked Elias's phone, snooping, shame burning, finding deleted messages. Proud of you, Eli. Drinks in Seattle sometime. Replied, maybe. Heart hammer. Confrontation dawn. Why lie? Elias woke bleary. Didn't want to worry. It's nothing. Lies make it everything. Mateo's voice broke. Out. Elias begged. Tears, touches. I deleted. Blocked again. Too late. Bag packed. Mateo left keys. Fix your ghosts alone. Sublet again, this time Mateo's choice. Nights alone. Sketches of voids. Therapy delving abandonment fears. You're not the fixer, counselor urged. You're the art. Elias's voicemails piled. Raw please. I fucked up. Therapy twice weekly now. October chilled. Pumpkins grinning mockingly. Mateo deleted the lot, focusing forward, mural tours. A fling avoided at a gallery opening. Halloween party at the center. Costumes. Kids' laughter. Elias showed vampire cape. Eyes hopeful. Can we talk? Bar close over mulled wine. I'm clean, Elias said. No contact. Facing why I sabotage. Mateo sipped, guard up. Why me? Because you see me. Whole. Kiss in the alley, tentative spark but caution. Slow, Mateo warned. November rebuilt tentative. Coffee meetups. No overnights. Elias shared journals, pages of self-reckoning, Jordan demoted to footnote. Thanksgiving solo for Mateo, Nana's call a bomb. Love finds its way to Zorro. December danced in with lights. First overnight. Fire escape stargazing, blankets shared. Missed this, Elias breathed. Me too. Hands linked, constellations above mirroring men's below. Solstice at the falls. Ice-crusted, breath clouds. We're stronger, Elias said. Ring slipped on finger. Not diamond, but silver lighthouse band. Promise. Mateo slipped his match. Eternal. Door to unexpected swung wider, light spilling. Winter's grip loosened grudgingly that year. Seattle skies parting in fits of blue that teased like half-remembered dreams. Mateo and Elias stepped into the new phase of their bond with the caution of survivors scanning horizons. Each clear day a victory. Each cloud a reminder to batten down. The lighthouse rings glinted on their fingers, simple silver sentinels against the ordinary chaos of life, grounding them when words faltered. Elias's evolution accelerated. He quit the startup grind for a nonprofit gig, developing apps for LGBTQ+ resources, code-serving stories instead of spreadsheets. Feels like Micah would approve, he said one morning, laptop humming as Mateo poured cereal. The workdays stretched, but homecomings brimmed with purpose. Tales of beta tests with transcoders, eyes sparking as he described impact. Mateo thrived in tandem. The mural spawned a series, public art installations dotting the city. His name whispered in creative circles. Workshops expanded, now including adults. One evening, Elias joined, pencil awkward but earnest. You're terrible at shading, Mateo teased, guiding his hand. Teach me? Elias murmured, lips brushing ear. Class ended in flushed cheeks, home in heated undress. Their rhythm pulsed with rediscovered joy. Mornings. Tandem jogs along the locks, watching salmon leap like acts of faith. Afternoons. Elias surprising with picnic lunches at Mateo's sites. Sandwiches wrapped in wax paper. Notes tucked inside. Fuel for my genius. Intimacy flowered unchecked. One rainy Sunday, they christened the new year with slow worship. Elias on knees before the mirror. Eyes locked as he took Mateo deep, hands reverent. Beautiful, he whispered post-climax, tracing release on skin. Nights tangled. Mateo atop, rhythms building to crescendos, Elias's gasps more, love a litany. Spring unfurled in verdant waves, cherry blossoms carpeting streets like confetti from a wedding unheld. They planned a road trip, Oregon coast retraced, lighthouses ticked off like lovers' marks. Packing the Vespa with saddlebags, they set off under skies of impossible azure. First stop, Cannon Beach, Haystack Rock looming like a sentinel from the photo. They walked the tide pools, hands linked, waves nipping ankles. At sunset, on the sand where boys once raced, Elias knelt again. This time with a velvet box. Not proposal. Promise rings cousin. Marry me? Someday. Mateo's yes choked on tears. Yes tumbling as rings exchanged. Gold bands etched with waves. Salt-stung kiss sealed. Ocean applauding. The drive south meandered. Stops at roadside diners for clam chowder thick as comfort. Motels with creaky beds where bodies mapped territories anew. In Newport, under Yucquina Head's beam, they made love on a blanket, stars witnesses. Elias's thrusts synced to distant surf. Return to Seattle buzzed electric. News shared at the center barbecue. Kids cheering, Lena toasting to forever fuckers. Family calls followed. Clara tearful joy. Mateo's parents tentative but warm. Nana's, finally, laced with recipes for the feast. Summer simmered with wedding whispers. Small, beachside, next summer. Venue hunts became dates. Astoria's shores, vows drafted on napkins over IPAs. Elias's app launched to acclaim, users flooding forums with thanks. He cried reading one from a kid in rural Idaho. You made me feel seen. But Harmony's underbelly stirred. Harlan's health declined. Chemo rounds sapping. Clara's calls frequent. He wants to walk you down, she told Elias, voice cracking. Elias's face shadowed. After everything? Forgiveness, son. It's freedom. The visit was raw. Hospital room sterile, Harlan frail but eyes clear. Regrets a bitch, he rasped, hand extended. Be happy. For Micah. Elias gripped, tears falling. I am. Mateo waited outside, heart full when Elias emerged. Lighter. August heat tested tempers. A commission deadline loomed for Mateo. Massive mural for a Pride Center expansion. Brushes flying till midnight. Elias supported with dinners delivered, but fatigue frayed edges. One night, paint-splattered argument over forgotten laundry escalated. You treat this place like a hotel, and you treat me like a maid, Mateo snapped. Door slam, Elias to the bar. Return at 2 a.m., whiskey breath. Sorry. Stressed. Makeup sex fierce, but words wounded lingered. September's harvest brought bounty and breach. Elias's app caught a big donor's eye. Conference in New York, week-long. Networking gold, he said. Excitement masking Mateo's unease. Call every night, Mateo stipulated. Kiss fierce at departure. East Coast time warped. First calls vibrant, Manhattan tales. Then gaps, busy panels. A photo, Elias with colleagues, arm around a lithe guy. New dev Alex, straight as arrow. Mateo laughed it off, but insomnia crept. Midweek text, dinner with donor. Late. No call. Next day, rough night. Phone died. Return. Airport reunion strained. Elias distracted. Jet lag. Unpack. A scribbled napkin. NYC bar. 2 whiskeys. Alex's number scrawled below. Who's this? Mateo's voice steel. Colleague. Networking. Elias snatched it, crumpling. Paranoid. Lies breed it. Confrontation boiled. You kissed him. No. Fury. But if doubt's your lens, it's yours. Bag grabbed. Space again. Elias blocked the door. Don't run. Fight with me. Tears. Can't if you're half gone. He left anyway, crashing with Lena. Nights. Bar hops. Flirtations rebuffed. Heart a bruise. Elias's texts. Therapy says I'm projecting abandonment. From Dad. Micah. Mateo. Fix it solo. October stripped trees bare, mirroring Mateo's resolve. Solo exhibit planning. Pieces born of ache, raw and resonant. Gallery owner. This is your best. Pain's power. Elias's email. Progress logs. Learning to hold space without filling it with fear. November election night. They met neutral. At a dive bar, TV's blaring results. Tension thick, but beers loosened tongues. I met someone, Elias confessed. Therapist referral. Coffee. Nothing romantic. Jealousy pricked. Good. Friendship. First real one since Jordan. Mateo nodded, walls cracking. I hooked up. Once. Rebound rage. Elias's face crumpled, then steadied. Hurts, but fair. We both stumble. Talk stretched on. Truths aired, hurts named. I want us, Elias said. Whole. Prove it. December's solstice loomed. Elias invited. Falls. With rings. Mateo arrived wary. Ice paths treacherous, but Elias's hand steady. At the base, water frozen in freezes, he knelt anew. Marry me. Now. Vows here. Words exchanged raw. Promises of storms weathered. Lights tended. Rings twisted tighter. Kiss a seal. Home. Apartment reclaimed. Body's gentle reclamation. We're it, Elias whispered. Light poured, door flung wide. The new year dawned with a deceptive calm. Seattle's fog banks rolling in like uninvited guests that muffled the city's clamor and amplified the quiet negotiations within Mateo and Elias's home. Their engagement, forged in the frozen hush of the falls, was less a fairy tale flourish and more a sturdy scaffold, supporting the weight of past collapses as they hoisted fresh dreams skyward. The gold bands caught light in mundane moments, glinting over cereal bowls, winking during paint-splattered afternoons, a constant Morse code of commitment. Wedding plans wove through daily life like threads in a tapestry, subtle but strengthening. No grand affair. They opted for intimate. An Astoria beach ceremony at summer's end, Clara officiating after online ordination, guests a circle of chosen family. Lena's crew, center kids now young adults, Mateo's parents flying cross-country. Invites handwritten on lighthouse stationery, RSVPs trickling like rain into cups. Elias balanced it with his nonprofit surge. The app evolving into a platform, user stories pouring in. Your tool got me through coming out. He mentored now, evenings zooming with fledgling devs, voice patient as he debugged not just code but confidence. It's Micah's legacy, he'd say, closing the laptop to pull Mateo onto his lap. Ours too. Mateo's career crested. The exhibit, titled Beacons in the Mist, sold out opening night, collectors bidding on pieces that bled vulnerability. Elias abstracted in storms, eyes piercing fog. A book deal followed, sketchbook republication with essays on queer resilience. Workshops boomed. One Saturday, teaching a mixed group, he caught Elias in the back row, sketching him mid-demo adoration plane. Stalker, Mateo whispered post-class, tugging him into the supply closet for a stolen kiss. Quick, heated, door rattling. Admirer, Elias countered, nipping lip. Spring's renewal mirrored their own. They gardened the fire escape, pots of herbs and marigolds, Elias's green thumb surprising from coastal roots. Evenings watered plants, hands soil dark, talk turning to vows. I promise to weather your storms. Elias practiced, voice gravel soft. Intimacy was their altar. One equinox eve, full moon silvering sheets. They explored with candle wax, drips on chests, gasps mingling pain and pleasure. Elias bound Mateo's wrists with silk ties, thrusts deliberate, eyes locked. Mine, always. Release shattered, aftercare tender, oils massaged, whispers weaving safety. Summer approached sweltering, plans accelerating. Dress shopping devolved to laughter. Elias in thrift kilts, Mateo in linen suits too starched. Honeymoon sketched. San Juan Island's cabin, kayaks and quiet. But undercurrents eddied. Clara's updates darkened. Harlan's remission false hope, hospice whispers. Come say goodbyes, she urged. The drive south was somber, Vespa humming dirge. Astoria's cliffs loomed accusatory, house heavy with antiseptic and sorrow. Harlan bedbound, voice reed thin. Boys, you made it right. Love like that, it's God's wink. Elias choked, hand in Mateo's vice grip. Love you too. Funeral fortnight later. Rainy graveside, Clara's eulogy weaving regret into grace. Reception at the beach house, toast salt-laced. Elias scattered ashes at the lighthouse, Mateo beside, arm anchor. Closed a chapter, he murmured homeward. New ones brighter. August wedding week crackled anticipation. Rehearsal dinner. Brooklyn kin mingling with Oregonians. Nana's meatballs bridging accents. Vows recited private on the sand. Elias's voice steady. You opened doors I boarded shut. Ceremony dawn. Waves lapping altar of driftwood. Clara's words, in light and shadow. You choose each other. Rings renewed. Kiss crashing like surf. Cheers erupting. Reception barefoot bonfire. Dances to fiddle tunes. Lena's speech roasting. Finally, the ice melts. Honeymoon kayaked fjords. Nights Porsche stargazing, bodies lazy with love. Return September. Glow undimmed. But work whirlwinds brood. Elias's platform pitched to investors. NYC again. Month-long embed. Temporary office, he framed. Builds our future. Mateo swallowed twinge. Weekly visits. First week. Calls constant. Skyline selfies. Then immersion. Late nights. But dreaming of you. Mid-month. A party invite. Gala. Black tie. Go. Go. Mateo urged. Shine. Photo arrived. Elias tucked arm around Alex, the dev from before, now partner. Caption. Team win. Doubts whisper. Innocent? Call that night. Bubbly. Alex is hilarious. Miss your grounding. Miss you, but sleep evaded. Week 3. Radio silence post-gala. Text. Hungover. Meetings tomorrow. No call. Mateo paced, old phantoms rising. Grinder tempted, profile dusted off but deleted. Loyalties chain. Elias home, airport dash, embrace tight. Exhausted. Unpack. Ty askew. Cologne whiff. Alex's? Mateo's nose twitched. Good time. Productive. Kiss evasive. Dinner tense. Something wrong. Just. Distant. Work. Dismissal. Bed. Turn away back to back. October storm broke verbal. Mateo found the email. Gala thank you from Alex. Epic night. That dance? Fire. Drinks soon. Replied. Absolutely. Confrontation thunder. Dancing? Drinks. Elias sighed. Networking. Flirty. But no. Lies again. Hurt lashed. Patterns exhausting. It's not. Defense cracked. Alex is gay single. Venture to flirt. Shut down. But you entertained. Human error. Plea. Forgive. Mateo packed. Not this time. Core's rotten. Lena's again, nights weeping. Elias's calls. Therapy intensive. Seeing the cycle. Fear of loss makes me push. Mateo. Break it without me. November stripped illusions. Exhibit 2. Darker. Betrayal themed. Critics raving raw evolution. Book manuscript poured pain into prose. Elias's letter arrived handwritten. I'm in Portland, helping mom pack. Clarity here. I sabotage because I fear I'm unlovable. Dad's ghost, Jordan's echo. But you taught me worth. If space is heal, I give it. Door open when ready. December solstice solo. Falls alone. Ice echoing emptiness. Vow renewed internal. To self first. New Year tentative text. Coffee. Bar neutral, eyes meeting wary. Elias. Engaged a life coach. Daily affirmations. Alex blocked. Mateo. Therapy groups. Boundaries mine. Talk meandered. Growth shared. Hurts aired. Still love you, Elias said. Love's not enough. Trust is. Working on it. Spring thawed personal winters. Mateo dated casual, coffee with a sculptor, laughs light. Elias mentioned a barista crush, voice casual. May joint workshop at center collab, teaching resilience through art and code. Chemistry sparked on stage, audience sensing. Post. Drinks, hands brushing. Miss us, Elias admitted. Me too. Kiss in cab, home familiar. Rebuild slow. No rings yet. Dates like firsts, market walks, Vespa spins. June solstice. Falls duo. Try again. Elias asked, band offered. Yes. Twist, seal. Summer bloomed second chance. Door creaking wider. Autumn's palette painted Seattle in strokes of amber and rust. The air crisp with the scent of fallen leaves and the subtle promise of endings that birth beginnings. Mateo and Elias approached this latest resurrection of their bond not as naive lovers but as architects of endurance. Blueprints redrawn with lessons etched in every line. Foundations poured from forgiveness's unyielding concrete. The apartment, scarred by moves and mends, stood as testament. Walls repainted soft gray, shelves lined with dual legacies. Mateo's sketchbooks flanking Elias's code journals. Lighthouse motifs woven throughout. Their recommitment was deliberate, a daily devotion. Mornings began with affirmations traded over espresso. Elias's, "I am worthy of steady love." Mateo's, "I choose peace over patterns." Elias's coaching bore fruit. A promotion to lead dev at the nonprofit, responsibilities that grounded him in purpose without escape's lure. "No more trips without you," he vowed, booking joint conferences, art tech fusions in Portland, where they presented tandem. Mateo on visual storytelling, Elias on digital empathy. Mateo's book released to quiet acclaim, signings at indie shops where fans shared their own doors opened. One evening, post-reading, a young man approached. "Your story is mine." "Thank you." Elias watched from the wings, pride swelling, hand squeezing Mateo's post-event. "You changed lives, and you anchor mine." Intimacy reignited sacred. One harvest moon night, they role-played vows renewed. Elias as lighthouse keeper, Mateo shipwrecked, bodies navigating storms with ropes and whispers. Laughter-laced ecstasy, afterglow curled. "We're home." Winter holidays healed generational rifts. Clara visited, housewarming with Oregon pies, stories of Harlan's last graces. "He'd love this," she said, eyeing their rings, reclaimed, polished. Mateo's family joined via video, Nana's virtual toast. "To loves that bend but never break." New Year's fire escape vigil. Resolutions spoken to stars. "Travel real," Elias proposed. Road trip south, California coast, no deadlines. February's chill softened in Big Sur's embrace. Vespa rented, cliffs hugging highways, stops at Carmel beaches where they swam nude, waves baptizing. Nights in cliffside inns, fireplaces roaring, Elias's fingers strumming Mateo's skin like guitar strings. "This is forever," he murmured, thrusts deep and deliberate. Return invigorated. Spring's workshops merged fuller. Joint sessions on creative partnerships. Enrollment bursting. A center teen, Jamie, non-binary voice newfound, dedicated a poem. Doors ajar, light floods. Summer hummed domestic bliss. Garden thrived. Tomatoes ripening red as passion. They hosted Pride potluck. Rainbow salads, dances till dawn. Lena cornered Mateo. "You glow. Deserve it." Doubt's embers flickered rare now. A work contact for Elias. Flirty email glimpsed. Prompted talk. Not tempest. "Delete," Mateo asked. "Already did." Elias's kiss sealed. Transparent as glass. Fall's equinox brought crossroads. Book tour for Mateo. East Coast swing, 2 weeks. "Go conquer," Elias urged, packing with care. Notes in suitcase. Proud on day one, hurry back on last. Calls consistent. Theater tales, Broadway buzz. Elias's updates. App milestones. Miss your warmth. Homecoming airport. Elias with roses. Cab to bed where reunion burned slow. Reacquainting like long-lost lovers. Gasps home, chorusing release. November's gray gifted introspection. Therapy evolved to couples. Dr. Hale's virtual circle unpacking triggers. "You're not your past," she affirmed. "You're the now you build." December solstice closed the circle. Drive to falls, path familiar as veins. Ice melted to rivulets, water singing. At the base, hands clasped, they faced the roar. Through betrayals, crises, heels, Elias began, voice steady. "I vow to you, Mateo Rossi, my door, my light. In unexpected turns, I choose us." Tears traced Mateo's cheeks. "And I to you, Elias Kane, my anchor, my storm. We open together, human, flawed, whole. Kiss drown the falls, embrace eternal." Seattle welcomed winter's hush, their life a narrative woven rich. Conflicts conquered, betrayals buried, healing a horizon. In the apartment's glow, box on shelf now talisman. They curled, bodies entwined, hearts synced. Love, they learned, was no straight path but a winding coast. Lighthouses guiding through fog, doors forever ajar to the unexpected beautiful.